Welcome to the Confident Steps part of the course. This is where we learn how to build our confidence and banish fear so that we can build an amazing mindset for personal brand success. Quite simply, if you believe in yourself, then others will believe in you as well. And building your brand is having inner confidence. When you feel confident, that shines through and people pick up that energy. You know, when you feel that you're confident, you have more assertiveness, and when you're more assertive, you can ask for things in a way that doesn't violate the rights of other people, that gives you what you want in a really, really effective way. We all have funny little wobbles, and that's only natural, but the important thing is we start believing in ourselves, and when we believe in us, others will do as well, and you'll feel more relaxed. You'll be able to conduct business in a less hurried way. You'll be more measured, you'll be more composed, and you're going to be able to express your views with conviction and passion, and that's what people are looking for. Now, your outer behaviour is driven by what you feel on the inside. And if you have that self-belief and that confidence of purpose and a determination to succeed, you will build a very, very successful brand. Now, confidence sells brands. Think of all the brands that you know. The ones that leap out at you are the ones that have that self-assuredness. They're the ones that you want to be part of. When you're confident, everything is easy. And when it looks and feels effortless to you, other people want to be part of that, and they'll want to be part of your brand. And when you're more assertive, people do believe you. They know your value. They know what you stand for. And confidence is a perception. First impressions are absolutely critical. So if you've built this inner confidence and you are projecting that fabulous energy out, people will get it. Knowing what your value is and what you're passionate about, you can build into your purpose. And when you know your purpose, you know what your vision is, and that builds confidence in other people. Having those right connections, the people that you want to be working with, the people you want on your team, that's about having confidence. Share your knowledge. People absolutely adore learning new things and making connections in different ways. So share your knowledge. Have the confidence to tell people about what you know. And of course, like in anything in life, you need to be prepared and you need to have a strategy. If you're prepared and you have a strategy, then guess what? Then you will move forward with confidence. People will see that you know where you're going, and you will be leading them, and they will want to follow. So what holds us back? It always comes down to these 4 little words, and that's fear. Fear is what holds so many people back. That whole thing about fear of failure, although it may of course be fear of success. And when you fear something, it leads to procrastination. It is okay to be scared. And in fact, having those funny feelings in your tummy, those feelings of, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm doing here, means that you're onto something good, and it shouldn't stop you. It's just your body's feedback mechanism, and it's saying that you're onto something, and you need to push through it, and you need to stop that procrastination and just get on and move forward to demonstrate that you are successful, that you are confident. Susan Jeffers has a great book, and it's called Fear the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I just love that saying. So when you feel that funny little feeling inside of you, feel it, acknowledge that it's there, and then say to yourself, how am I going to take action to move myself through that fear and crack on and do what I've come here to achieve? And this other thing that comes from her book, it's wonderful. Pushing through fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from helplessness. If you act like you're helpless, if you act like you can't, then everything about your body will believe it. Remember, we talked about having inner confidence. If you have that inner belief, everybody else picks up that great energy. So push through it, believe in yourself, take those steps forward, and don't live in a helpless state that stops you building an amazing personal brand. So fear, uncertainty and doubt. It's generally, FUD, I call it FUD. And it wasn't coined by me. I can't claim to have invented FUD. It was actually defined by a guy called Gene Amdahl. And he left the computer company IBM and found his own company, and he used it to describe the fear, uncertainty and doubt that the IBM salespeople were spreading to their customers who might have considered going to work with their competitors. And in that case, the competition was Amdahl. But in terms of your brand, it's about your perception that is spreading this fear, uncertainty and doubt and leaving you unable to move forward. And I come across people who say things like, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start my personal branding journey. I don't know where to start to feel confident. And we talked about, being scared of failure or scared of success. And, people say things like, oh, who's going to listen to me? And who would want to know more about what I've got to say? Well, I'm telling you, absolutely loads of people do. And there's other things like, oh, there's lots of people out there, and, they do it better than me, and they're much more well known. Well, do you know what? Fear is false evidence appearing real, and do you know what? You don't have a crystal ball. You only live in the now. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. The other thing to remember about fear is actually it's necessary for survival. And you need, if something does scare you, you need to analyse it and work out, is this for my survival, or is it this thing that is this non-belief that I have? And the only thing about certainty is uncertainty, and that is great. It is wonderful. If you had a crystal ball, you wouldn't be trying new things. You wouldn't be building your confidence. You wouldn't be working towards your personal brand. So fear is actually good. So remember, false evidence appearing real, and you need fear for survival. And, if you don't have those feelings, then as far as I'm concerned, you probably don't feel anything about anything else. So, go with the flow, embrace it, and see where it can take you. So we talked about procrastination earlier. And yes, there is a cure to procrastination, and that's to just stop doing it. And one of the things that I always recommend is that people have a procrastination action plan, and write down all the things that stop them doing various things. Now, people procrastinate for all kinds of reasons. One of my things is I want everything to be perfect. And I love this saying by Salvador Dali: have no fear of perfection, because you will never reach it. Because the minute that you've completed something, let's say you were writing a book, and you completed writing your book, the minute you publish it, I bet you anything, you'll want to change something. So don't stop yourself because you want everything to be perfect. Have it perfect at that point, put it out there, wait for the feedback, and if you want to change it, change it. We talked about the only certainty being uncertain, and again, you don't have a crystal ball. Helplessness. Instead of starting, you always think that you need someone else to help you. Well, you don't. You have all the resources you need inside of you. And sometimes we procrastinate because we think there's a right way or a wrong way of doing something. Just start because you can. One of the things that I come across with writers that I work with is they find that they can't start doing something because their environment's not right. So if you're using the workbook and you're finding that it's difficult to journal, it may be that you're in the wrong environment. I like to write in bed. Well, where do you like to write? I like to have a cup of tea. What do you do? A glass of wine. So finding the right environment. And Perhaps you just want an easy life. You think it's all going to be easy. And, you know, to build your personal brand and build a mindset for success, you need motivation and dedication. And it is, you know, this lack of trust in ourselves. How often have you been working with a client or a friend and they tell someone else about your amazing abilities and you think, oh, little old me, that can't be right, or that's just a nice thing to say, or they're just saying it as a friend. But you know it's not. And if you carry on believing that it's not true, you're going to be damaging your potential and, of course, your personal brand. And I just want to ask you something. You know, what would you do if you knew you could never fail? Now, this is an exercise that we'll be doing a little bit later on, but just think about that for the moment. What would you do if you knew you could never fail? So believe and trust in yourself, because dreams do come true, and they come true because you believe in yourself and you believe that you can do these things. And obviously you need to take a bit of action, but it's about self-belief. So confidence. Confidence is feeling certain that something is true. Look at all these words: courage, capability, charisma, skills, talents, know-how, adds value. All of those words, all of those things, if you believe in them, if you think about what each one of those words means to you and how you add value to other people, and your attitude, your self-belief, you will have confidence. Go on, look it up in the dictionary. Get yourself a thesaurus out and see what other words come up for confidence. And think about how you map to each of those. And that will help you build that confident self. One of the things that I always ask clients to do is to think about two sets of people. People who have absolutely no confidence, and people who have lots of confidence, and I ask them to make a list of both. So low confident people talk like what? What kind of words do they use? Oh, I can't, and I don't, and oh, I'm not sure. What do they walk like? What's their body language? And when you see a confident person, what do they talk like? What kind of words do they use? What kind of conversations do they have? You know, what's their body language? You know, how are they projecting their energy and their image? You know, and when you see other people talking to them, you know, are they held enwrapped by what they're saying? Think about it just for a minute. Which one are you, or do you fall in the middle of two? Like sometimes you've got your head down and you don't feel terribly confident. Or do you enter a room like you own it? Now, if you're not sure, I would just go and sit in a cafe somewhere, or the canteen at work, or just look around your business. Who are the low confident people and who are the high confident people? And what is it that separates the two? And what can you learn from that, and how can you use it? So we've talked about modelling others. Who should be in that blank space on the other side of the screen? If that was you and you were modelling somebody else, what bits of their personality, what bits of their clothing, or the type of car, or the way that they use their hands, or they project their voice? Which traits do you have which are damaging to your brand, which you could change now? If you could paint a picture on the other side of that screen where you had modelled somebody else, what would be in that picture? Part of being confident is having more assertiveness. And assertiveness is a key component of building a confident personal brand. If you don't stand up for your personal rights, you may be perceived as being a doormat. And people who demonstrate that low confident energy are often seen as doormats, as people that other people can walk over and manipulate. Now, the other end of the scale is people who are aggressive, and they're your bullies, they're your manipulators, they're the people that you don't want to be around. They're the people that when you see walking towards you, you know that they're going to do something that you don't like or say something that you don't like. So being assertive is the balance between passive and being aggressive. So passive is where you comply with other people. Somebody wants something, they ask you to do it, you do it, and you do it probably because you have this strong personal need to be liked by other people. So being passive results in a failure to communicate your thoughts and feelings, and it results in people not really doing things that they want to do just because they want to please other people. Now, why would you do that? What about you? When are you going to put yourself first? So we know what aggressive people are like. They're the people that undermine the confidence of other people. And, there's a whole load of aggressive responses out there, telling rather than asking, ignoring people and just not considering other people's feelings. And aggressive behaviour is often seen as overt bullying, and this happens a lot in all aspects of your life. The other thing that is equally not helpful is people who are passive aggressive. They're the ones that say, yes, I'd love to do something, or yes, that's not a problem, and then they go off and sabotage something behind your back. So there's a disconnect between what a passive aggressive person says and then what they do. And this is often seen as covert bullying or manipulation. So they put on a face and then they do something behind your back. And I just simply want to know, which one of those four things do you fall into? My hope is that you would want to be and are an assertive person, so that you stand up for yourself without violating the rights of other people. So let me give you some tips. You can make and refuse requests. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to comply to the bullies and the manipulators. If you're being asked to stay on late at work, and what you'd much rather do is go home, make your dinner, have a glass of wine and put your feet up, you don't have to tell people that you don't have plans. You can say, that doesn't suit me, I can't do such and such. Now, something that goes along with that is try and look at what it is that someone wants you to do, and maybe there's a small part of it that you can do in the time frame that you have, and then the following day or whenever it suits you, that you can follow on with the request. But you have every right to say that you don't want to do something, and you don't have to make excuses. Because imagine that the scenario, the boss comes and says, I'd like you to stay late and I want you to do blah blah blah, and you say, oh, actually I can't because tonight I'm doing my yoga class. You look like you're not committed to the organisation. Whereas if you just keep saying and repeating, I have plans tonight, they're unbreakable, let me have a look at what you want to do and let's see how we can work this through. That is a much, much better way to tackle that. State your views. You have every right to say what you think. And if you use the I word, I believe, I think, nobody can argue with what you believe or you think. Feedback, give and take feedback, and take it in the way that it's intended. Often we hear feedback as criticism, whereas actually if we broke it down and looked at the constructive components of it, some of what someone is saying may actually be very, very good. Sometimes it's just the way that we perceive that people say things that isn't good for us. So, give and receive good feedback. We've talked about using the I word. So you're using assertive language. Language that is neither aggressive or passive. Positive, good language. And just say no. Saying no is something that I absolutely adore, and I believe that we have the right to just say, no, I don't want to. The other thing about saying no is as soon as you said no, you have a silence. So, will you do something? No. and keep silent. At some point, the other person will fill the space.